Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. If you're a cloud computing student or an IT manager out there trying to squeeze every ounce of optimization out of your environments, well, you are exactly where you need to be. Today, we're zooming in on a massive shift happening right now in cluster management. We're talking about making the leap from the traditional Kubernetes dashboard over to a sleek, modern tool called Headlamp.
But before we get into the weeds, I want you to ask yourself something honestly. Is your current Kubernetes interface actually holding you back? Think about it. You spend all this time and energy building this incredibly robust, scalable cluster under the hood. But if your day-to-day tooling is causing friction, well, you're just not getting the most out of your environment. So we're going to figure out if your current setup is secretly acting as a massive bottleneck.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start off by looking back at the Kubernetes dashboard era. Then, we'll talk about why it is definitely time for an upgrade before introducing Headlamp. After that, we'll check out some real-world benefits, and finally, we'll wrap up with making the migration.
Starting things off with Section 1, the Kubernetes dashboard era.
For the longest time, the traditional Kubernetes dashboard was absolutely the gold standard. You know the one. It's that classic web-based interface built to give us a visual way to manage and monitor our clusters, basically so we didn't have to rely 100% on the command line for every little thing. And honestly, it was a fantastic foundational stepping stone for cluster management back in the day.
Moving right along to Section 2, time for an upgrade. Now, as useful as that traditional dashboard was, it definitely carries some pretty significant limitations today. The two biggest hurdles we see? Security concerns and a complete lack of customization. On the security front, we're often dealing with incredibly complex token management and really high privilege requirements, which is never ideal. And then there's the rigidity. If you literally can't tailor the interface to fit your team's specific workflows, it just slows everyone down. It's like trying to run a marathon in shoes that don't fit.
Which brings us to Section 3, introducing Headlamp. Enter Headlamp. This right here is an awesome new open-source project that was designed specifically from the ground up for the modern cloud landscape. It directly attacks those legacy limitations we just talked about. How? By giving you a highly secure, incredibly user-friendly interface that is deeply, deeply customizable. And because it's open source, you're getting rapid, community-driven improvements all the time. It really is a game changer. When you put these two head-to-head, the contrast is just night and day. On one side, you have the traditional Kubernetes dashboard, which is getting bogged down by rigid UI and lingering security gaps. On the other side, you've got Headlamp, swooping in with drastically improved security and granular customization options. It's just a clear evolutionary step. You're basically trading in a rigid, potentially vulnerable old tool for something that is modern, secure, and entirely adaptable to how you actually work.
Let's look at Section 4, real-world benefits. The source materials actually highlight a really great real-world example of this. There was a cloud infrastructure team that completely hit a wall with the old traditional dashboard. They were dealing with pressing security issues, and the rigid UI was literally bottlenecking their daily productivity. They absolutely needed a change, so they took the plunge and migrated over to Headlamp.
And the impact was pretty much instantaneous. By making the switch, they immediately tightened up their cluster security. Boom, right off the bat. Then they were able to highly customize the interface to perfectly match their daily workflows. And the result of all that? A massively enhanced overall user experience for the entire engineering team. They basically took all that operational friction and completely eliminated it, just by upgrading the tooling. How cool is that?
Which leads us to our final section, Section 5, making the migration.
Now, the really good news here is that migrating is not some shot in the dark. It is a highly structured, straightforward process. You follow a defined step-by-step path, and you get to utilize specific migration tools designed for the job. For example, using standardized Helm charts makes the whole transition incredibly seamless, ensuring zero disruption to your live operations.
So, to bring it all together, making the transition to Headlamp is not just some minor, run-of-the-mill software update. It is a significant step forward for cloud computing and Kubernetes as a whole. It finally gives teams that secure, highly adaptable interface that modern cluster management absolutely demands.
Which leaves us with this final thought. As cloud environments continue to evolve at warp speed and get more and more complex, is your interface truly ready for the future of Kubernetes? I want you to take a hard look at your current tooling. If you are still relying on those older dashboards, it might just be time to take that structured step forward and see exactly what Headlamp can do for your infrastructure. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep building, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.